saw a familiar face walking on the avenue, both surprised by the way we looked. The years have changed us too. We smiled and both embraced like old friends often do.
Hello again. Welcome to another episode of Gung Ho. It's November 22nd, 2023. I assume everyone knows it's 60 years since Kennedy was murdered in Dallas, Texas. But today we're going to talk about the Israeli war against Hamas. And I want to tell you a little bit about me again. And I have a very good friend here, Neil Hausig, and he's going to tell you about him because everything we do now is going out on YouTube. I'm a Marine captain, retired. I went right from Hofstra University into the Marine Corps. I volunteered to serve in Vietnam as a Marine infantry officer. I know firsthand about war. I know things about human nature and my nature that many of the out there will never understand, never see, never experience. I am really affected by what's going on in the world right now, the bombardments. Straight out, I could tell you it's over 50 years since I came home. I think 55 years. I still have recurring nightmares of being bombarded by NVA rockets and artillery. Pure terror. I will never stop having them. And that's what's happening over there right now to both sides, mostly the Palestinians. All right, that's enough about me. This is my friend Neil.
Hi, my name is Neil Hausig. I've lived in East Hampton now since 1979. My background is I got degrees in economics and economic development from City University and from George Washington, and then a degree in counseling for drug treatment from a private organization. And I've worked for the past 60 years in drug treatment, in anti-racism, anti-war programs, and then I worked also as a designer and a real estate broker. And my interest has always been strongly about political movements, about how the country functions, and how we try and live in a world that's peaceful and safe for everybody.
All right. We met years and years back protesting against wars. It seems to me that we have never been in a period where a war wasn't being waged by us. I can't remember any time. Something else. All right. Right now, it turns out that there is some type of deal. What is your understanding of the deal? First of all, when do you think it came into existence or was offered?
Well, the deal evidently, and this is one of the issues that sort of goes to the whole process that's taken place over the last 6 weeks, is that the deal was put on the table according to The Guardian and Haaretz, which is a Hebrew newspaper, about 30 days ago. And it took an enormous amount of pressure from hostage families and people who wanted to end this war in Israel to finally get the government to agree to do it. So there's a whole bunch of things at issue. One is why the deal wasn't done sooner, why the government refused to look at it, this need that Netanyahu had to exact revenge on the Palestinian people and on Hamas. And now they're in a peace process, which is going to give a 4 or 5 day break in the fighting, a small ceasefire, and then that could be extended if more prisoners are released. It's not sure how this all gets worked out. But this appears to be in place and supposedly is going to begin tomorrow morning.
So it's not a complete ceasefire, it's just a timeout, and the war will go on right after that.
It's a short-term ceasefire.
All right. The nature of this war is really crazy. I think that whatever equity Israel had, and they had plenty, is really been almost destroyed by the way they're conducting this war against Hamas. Like I said, I know about war. There are things happening there. Like, for example, the Israelis are using what they call bunker buster bombs. You heard that, right? All right, we developed bunker buster bombs, and either we gave them to the Israelis or we sold them to the Israelis. Again, I'm going to say they were used to take out bunker systems in hills and mountains, jungles and stuff like that. The Israelis are using them in urban areas. They have very little effect, if any, on the tunnels under Gaza. In Nam, we never tried to destroy tunnels with bombs. We had to go inside the tunnels. Some of us did. I did on one occasion, but all I decided to do was go in a short way with my men, put a lot of explosives there and blow the shit out of it, and that's it. Okay. Now, dropping those bunker buster bombs, the way they're using it, they are intending to kill civilians. No doubt in my mind. That is their intention. It's collateral damage. It's a war crime. Every person they kill is a murder. And they're doing it. And it's almost, I don't know, maybe 40 or 40% are children. What's your view on?
Well, half the population in Gaza are children. So it means they were all born, under the Israeli occupation. So what you have here on the two extremes in this fight is you have Hamas, who would like to destroy Israel, who's in Palestine because there's really no place else to go, who won an election because the Palestinians no longer wanted to deal with the PLO and never had another election. And the question there is more about ruling or governing. And if you're governing, it means that you're taking care of your population. When you're ruling, you're just taking what you can from the population. On the Israeli side, you have Netanyahu, who has been in power for 14 of the last 17 years. Certainly during most of the time, Hamas is there. And Netanyahu's interest is in protecting himself and in advancing Israel, taking over more settlements. And I think if it were up to him, he would like to get rid of the Palestinians, just the way Hamas would like to get rid of Israel. So you have these two extremes. And I think when you try and resolve a problem, you have to have somebody who's willing to participate
On
in the
each
resolution.
side.
Yeah. And while there are lots of Palestinians and lots of Israelis, the leadership has no real interest in resolving the problem.
You're talking about the government.
The governments.
The people that are governing.
Right. So without either government positively looking to make a deal, no deal can possibly be made.
I want to make one comment about government. I firmly believe that the only broker of the deal is Biden. If he says that there's going to be a deal and I want it done yesterday, it will happen. Biden is the only one that can push this forward. But he's got too much skin in the game, supplying all the weapons, technology, surveillance, and it's the money involved in politics. But Biden could do this. I really believe he's the key to peace in that area. If he says, I've had enough, we have had enough, this is enough, there's going to be peace, and I want it within like 30 days, do it. We'll do everything we can to help you. You have to do it. That's it, bottom line.
Well, you would think that Biden could have that kind of influence, but when you look at the equation between the Palestinians and the Israelis, so Palestine is brutally poor. It has very little wealth. It has very little power. It has systems that don't work, and it has abusive, negative leadership. Israel, on their side, is wealthy, it's powerful, it's got screwed up leadership, but it's got a large piece of the population that would like to make a deal with the Palestinians. So it seems to me that the Palestinians have nothing to lose. They're in such bad shape that how much worse does it get? So you're going to kill more people and they're going to have more babies. It's kind of insane, the process. So for the Palestinians, there's no hope. But for the Israelis, they have something to lose that's really significant. And it's really incumbent on Israel to make this deal happen.
When you say they have something to lose, what do you mean?
I mean, they've got their country. They've got all this wealth. They've got this style of life that's terrific. They've got they've got an existence that's pretty wonderful compared to almost the entire world.
What about the incentive called peace and security, living in a place where you don't have to be in fear of rockets or mortars?
Well, absolutely. So my sense is that Israelis have always had a false sense of security in believing that their government could always protect them. What this Hamas attack has shown them is that they're vulnerable. It's their worst nightmare. It's a country that is under therapy now because no one believed this was actually going to happen, and it's happened. And they're not sure how you go forward because normally they would have gotten rid of their government that failed to protect them. So Israel's in a position where it understands the risks of not making peace. And I think before they didn't fully understand them. And they always had the United States backing them. So maybe you're right about Biden and what he says.
This thing, might makes right, that's the way the Israeli government is doing right now, and for a long time, might makes right. And you're right, they will never be secure now. The weaponry will be able to reach anywhere in Israel, and they're going to get more sophisticated. You could launch an army of drones. You could manufacture drones. Every one of them could be weaponized. It's going to get worse and worse for the Israelis. The incentive is, get together and get this done. Biden, he's caught now, right? A lot of young people are very upset with him. What is that going to mean about his, getting reelected?
Well, I think it's a year away. This thing will pass. I don't think that the younger population is going to hold on to it. In fact, I think when it comes down to an election in America, people get all upset about a lot of stuff, and then it fades really, really quickly. But I think this idea of what you said before is that might makes right, is that in the world, Israel's not so concerned about what anybody thinks, except for the United States. And somehow the United States has tied itself. But when you go around the world and you look at wars that we've been involved in and other wars that happen, there's no bad feedback from it in a sense. There's no responsibility that anybody takes for creating a war, like Russia's in a war.
How about Vietnam?
Vietnam again, you look at Vietnam.
Iraq,
Afghanistan. But when you go back to Vietnam, which you know really well, I mean, what's the consequence for the United States to having gone into Vietnam and having done what it did in Vietnam?
The government and the people responsible, no accountability at all.
Zero accountability.
But who suffered?
Yeah.
The vets, like me, hundreds and thousands, and Vietnamese, we suffered. And I'll tell you straight out, my dad was very patriotic. He was in the army during the Depression and during World War II. See this jacket? It's an Eisenhower jacket. That's his unit's patch. That's one of the few things I got, not 9th Armored Division. But he taught me a lot of things and showed me a lot of things, and he said to me, your country right or wrong. I went to Vietnam. You know, I really listened to Kennedy when he
Yeah.
said, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. Well, all right.
Yeah.
When
So,
I got to Vietnam, within maybe the second month, I realized, this is like a civil war. And we're in the middle of this thing and we're making it worse. So I turned against the war the second month I was there. And from then on in, I would never trust the government again. It's all lies. And we couldn't even say a word because you'd be court-martialed. So,
but you know, the issue and the problem that we have with all of this concept of powerful countries and weaker countries is there's no consequence to people's actions from the strong side. So you look at all of our wars, all of our mistakes, everybody else's wars and mistakes, and nobody pays for it. So what they did in America after Vietnam to guarantee that you wouldn't have the same upheaval in the country is they got rid of the draft. You know, so there's no draft, and it means everybody's a volunteer now in the army. And it's their choice to go to war or not to go to war. And so you take away all the internal pressure from the war, and you don't have any consequences. You don't have any political consequences or electoral consequences. You're basically home free to go and prosecute whatever you want to prosecute. You know, and this is one of the problems that goes on throughout the world. There's no real enforcement when countries behave badly. You know?
well, I mean, oh my God. Our presidents, starting for me with Lyndon Johnson, I mean, they lied us and he and his government lied us into a war. Bush lied us into, and his government lied us into 2 wars. I mean, and nobody's even ever thought about holding them accountable. I mean, it's outrageous what's done to us, and we walk away from it all the time. It's all right.
Yeah.
So
Okay. So when you go back to Israel and Palestine, I mean, there's a tragedy on the Hamas attack, and then Israel always has choices. You know, you want to take some level of vengeance, and they've never been attacked this way before, so it sort of puts people a little bit out of their mind. But the level of vengeance is crazy. You know, what are you creating in Gaza? You know,
yeah, go ahead, keep talking.
you know, where's your solution? What's your end game? So they go into this war without an end game. There's no plan.
There is a plan. In Vietnam, you know what our plan was? Kill as many as you can. And you know what the measurement was? How many bodies did you kill? How many did you kill today? We had to turn in reports.
Yeah.
We were pressured. How many NVA or BCA did you kill today? Body count. Killed them faster than they could come at us. It didn't work.
Yeah.
It didn't work. All right. That was the measure. Right now, the Israelis are using the bunker buster bombs. They're using artillery pieces, called 155 millimeters, and they're our artillery guns, I call them, that we gave or sold to the Israelis, and they're firing at Gaza right now. What I call Willie Peter white phosphorus rounds. They were made in the 1980s here. They were never used in Vietnam. They were used one time in Fallujah by Marines. They got caught using them, and it's a war crime to use them over urban areas. And I'll show you why. Again, this is one of the white phosphorus rounds. Can you see that? exploding over Gaza in 2008 or 9, Operation Cast Lead, over the city. It rains down white phosphorus. It burns when it's exposed to oxygen. Water can't put it out. Nothing can put it out. It has to be smothered. It burns right through everything to the bone. They're using that right now. The only people, only organizations talking about it is the Human Rights Watch. Here is the Israelis in Operation Cast Lead bombing a UN school with Willie Peter rounds. War crime, over and over again. They got away with it, even though Human Health Watch put out a report, a long report. Nobody was held accountable. This is a photo of an Israeli soldier during Operation Cast Lead. These are our rounds. These are our rounds. They're labeled American rounds. They're Willie Peter rounds. It's still going on. The Israelis are acting insane. They think that this is okay to bomb urban areas with Willie Peter, white phosphorus rounds, similar to napalm. It's going on right now. So I have empathy to everybody under a bombardment, but I don't have any empathy. I hate the Israeli government for what they're doing, how they're doing it. What I said.
You know, it's how you define terror.
This is terror.
And we don't look at anything that we do as being terrorist. So,
Yes.
you know, it's that, I mean, you're really, this is one of the big problems we have, is that anyone who does anything that we don't approve of, in a violent way, are called terrorist. And there's a lot of terror that goes on
Right.
in the world.
We only have. Take us back to just before the state of Israel. I mean, yeah, the UN recognized a Jewish state. What were the Jews doing as far as terror back then?
There was a time after the Balfour Declaration, and then there's World War II, and then England had made a decision that they would give Judea for a Zionist state, and then they started to waffle and renege on a decision, and the Jewish settlers that had been there for a long enough time took up arms and fought against the British, and the British called them terrorists. But you know, every independence movement is called terror by whoever the country is.
Yeah,
that's
I know, and you know,
the occupying country.
that those Jews that took up the fight against the British went on a bombing campaign, and every one of those bombs is an act of terrorism, and they were killing innocent people too. That's terror. You plant a bomb in a hotel or anywhere.
For sure. Yeah.
That's,
I mean,
it's an act of terror.
But the thing that makes it complicated is that's all they've got. You know, what do the Gazans have? I mean, how do they fight what's happening to them with Israel? What are their resources?
All right.
Where do they turn?
They don't even have one surface-to-air missile. They cannot take down one Israeli jet, one Israeli helicopter. Absolutely no defense. They don't have, I said this before, they don't have one tank. They don't have one artillery piece. They don't have any ships. They don't have any type of iron dome. So they have small arms. And that's about it. They have what they call rocket-propelled grenades. That comes back, those were used in the Vietnam War, and they're effective against the tanks, though. They are effective. But basically, they're a guerrilla. They're a large guerrilla army. You know, that's all they are. And they're getting, pulverized. Well, you could see what these bombs are doing. I've never seen anything like that in Vietnam. I saw all of that stuff, the carpet bombing. The B-52 bombs were 1,000-pound bombs. Those, that you could put like 30 or 40 B-52 craters in just one bomb that the Israelis dropped. It's,
Well, the problem is that a lot of the world is calling for a ceasefire.
but we aren't.
Well, we aren't, for one, and we're the only ones who really count. But the other side is nobody's coming up with a plan.
Yeah.
What's the alternative? How do you make peace?
Our
in
plan,
this
our
world?
government plan is to destroy Hamas, which is absolutely stupid, ridiculous, and not gonna do it. The Israelis are creating a generation or two of guerrilla fighters. They're doing it right now. These kids are gonna grow up hating the Israelis, and they're gonna wanna fight them. You're not gonna wipe out Hamas. Hamas is an idea. And our government is crazy to take that position. I'm sorry.
It's okay, not a problem.
So I'm really upset about Biden saying no ceasefire, just a pause, and we have to destroy Hamas. You know, Biden never went to war. I hate to say that, people. Biden got 5 deferments during the Vietnam War. He has never been to war. He has never been under a bombardment. Maybe he should have been. He would know something about.
Well, who was the last president that went to war?
Who was the last one?
Bush Senior.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he knew something.
And then before him, it was Eisenhower. So, I mean, you don't really have a lot of presidents that ever went to
And
war.
Kennedy was at war. Yeah, we've had, yes. And it teaches them something.
Well, you would think, yeah.
It teaches them, what it teaches them is we shouldn't go to war.
Yeah. But I think for Israel and Palestine, it's really up to the Israelis to solve this problem.
You hear that out there? The Israelis. They could do it if they really want to. We're done.
Yeah, okay.
Hello, good.
I saw a familiar face walking on the avenue, both surprised by the way we looked. The years had changed us too. We smiled